Welcome, Edwardian nobility, vicars, guests, and Professor Peach in the library with the lead pipe. This is episode 333 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 11th of December, 2019, and featuring The Unicorn and the Wasp, written by Gareth Roberts, and starring David Tennant as the Doctor, and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. I am your host for this evening, Randy Ronson McCulloch, and with me on the panel tonight is our technical director, Mad Matt Winchell.
I can train cats!
And Tim, the Enchanter Sheridan.
Season's greetings.
Bill Sylvia, the Men in Black, is out writing a term paper, and Thomas Fireheart is out due to sleep issues again.
Boy,
So,
needs therapy.
Boy lives in Australia and, has to change his whole sleep habit just to come on the show, so sometimes not surprised. How's everybody's week been? Well, how's both of you's weeks been? Yeah. I say, sounding thoroughly redneck. How's y'all been?
I was just fine and dandy sugar candy.
Mostly okay. The only bad incident I can think of is Sunday morning. I had a Charlie horse on my bad leg.
The one you messed up right before Thanksgiving?
Yep. All of a sudden, I'm like half awake, and the next thing I know, ha, ha, ha.
Hate it when that happens.
It's actually on a leg that's still slightly tender. By the way, I'm getting around on it a lot better lately. The scab is down to a fairly small amount right now. Thank goodness.
I've had kind of... Well, no, I actually did have an eventful weekend. Aaron and I decided, after looking at our old Christmas tree, which we inherited from a friend back in, 2013, and he had it for, over a decade, so the thing probably has been around since, the 90s. That it was time for a new tree. So we went out to Home Depot, looked at the trees, and basically decided to get a 6.5-foot tall, brand new pre-lit tree. And I put that up Sunday night. Now, let me tell you, in the old days, or on the old tree, there were probably about 40 to 50 parts you had to put together. Because you had to put up the tree stand, and then you had to hook up each individual branch in a circle around the tree and arrange it appropriately.
Basically, on my family tree, yeah.
You know how many parts this tree was in? 4.
Wow.
The stand is counted as one of them.
Okay.
You put down the stand, you put down the lower half of the tree, you put down the middle half of the tree, and then you put on the treetop. And then all of the branches are connected by a hinges so that they swing down right into place. And it's all pre-lit.
I think the tree that was gotten from me, or at least from my sister, maybe it was originally from me and then it went to my sister. I believe all the branches hinge up, so you can flip. Oh, Jesus!
Sorry,
so you can put it all back into the box.
Yeah, well, I mean, the old ones, all the branches kind of, were individual things, and yeah, this time they're all together. It went from taking about 3 hours to put up the Christmas tree to about 20 minutes. And most of that was me reading the instructions and figuring out what the hell to do. Because it's these ends don't connect. Oh, that's a security cap.
Arg.
Okay, take that out. Shink. Okay. So then Erin got home and arranged the branches how she wanted, fluffed them out a bit. And then we put the lights on last night. And it's one of those that has both the colored lights and the white lights. So we have them so that the colored lights go on and then they fade, and then the white lights go on and then they fade. It actually looks pretty awesome. I was not entirely sold when we bought it. I'm sold now. We have yet to put the balls on the tree and the little star on top, but, We'll get to that.
It feels like half the job's already done.
Yeah. To be honest, I'd be perfectly fine with it just like it is.
I'm pretty sure we're going treeless for the second year in a row.
No one just bothering to put it up?
The entire corner where we normally would put the tree is taken up by boxes from my mother.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Matt.
The entire corner where we usually put the tree is filled up with boxes from my mother. She's got this. You and Erin have seen the stuff she does, the work stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, all the boxes for all the stuff she has shipped in just kind of end up in that same corner, and she has not really moved them in a while. She just, honestly, she doesn't have enough time. She's got too many other things, including work, to deal with.
So, under our Christmas tree is Erin's presents to her family from last Christmas. She's like, always like, I got to get a box and mail these out. And we always completely forget to go get a box and mail them out. So it's turning into, like a year old now. So a little pathetic, if you ask me. And I'm including myself in that for not doing it.
Yeah, I can get the feeling. I'm just thankful that all my stuff is done outside of waiting for Christmas sales to pop in. Then I'll be getting something for Erin because she already got me a Christmas present, I think, the other day. And then
her shopping is done.
Mm-hmm.
She finished her shopping last night by getting some gift cards for her parents. I'm like, damn, woman.
Outside of getting a Steam gift back for her and the Steam gift for my brother-in-law, which we always also do, I'm done.
So
I'm just waiting for the winter sale so I can afford it more readily to send them something nifty.
I already know what Erin's gotten me for Christmas.
A
Nintendo Switch. With Breath of the Wild. So if I have to be here for freaking Doctor Who in January because it's a new season, but you realize the rest of the time I'm pretty much going to be Zelda. They're making a sequel to this game.
Yes, it's going to be the first official sequel directly based off of one of the games. Actually, no, the second time.
Third time. First one was Zelda 2 was a sequel to the original Legend of Zelda.
Is it, though? I think that's iffy according to the timeline.
No, it is. It has always been that way. Actually,
I would have to check my books on that because I think they got split up.
Nope, they're still together. Those two are together. But the one that's questionable is Link's Awakening has always been listed as a sequel to A Link to the Past, but never officially stated. And then, of course, Majora's Mask is a sequel to Ocarina of Time.
At least it's a direct sequel to the going back to becoming a kid ending, yes.
Yes, but it's still a sequel to Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking fucking Zelda timeline. We're talking the story is continued from the previous game.
I was so canonically confused.
But since then, we've had The Wind Waker, whose spin-off games were done on a different medium, and
they're all handheld.
Were considered to be not really official. Then we had Twilight Princess, which I don't think got any sequels. Nor did Skyward Sword. And now Breath of the Wild, and they're just calling at this point Breath of the Wild 2, which would be a Zelda first.
Mm-hmm.
If they just call it Breath of the Wild 2, it's like, Jesus, was this game really this popular? I have to play this now.
Yeah. A matter of fact, it's so popular that they're out of that little tiny teaser that they made for Breath of the Wild 2, there's already fan art coming out for...
that people make fan art on anything.
In particular, there's fan art for that Ganon as a normal living person. Basically, one of the fan art side I noticed depicted both Zelda and Link getting nosebleeds from him being normal.
Mm. Well, if I recall, Breath of the Wild is supposed to take place after all the other games.
So far as we can tell, that's a big maybe, though.
I mean, no, I think that wasn't a statement by the creator. Is it takes place after everything else, so it's the latest game in the timeline. Although I swear to God, the Zelda game needs a Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of thing.
It did.
It did.
Yes, it's called Hyrule Warriors.
That doesn't count.
That's why they're kind of saying this is at the end, because it's technically a continuation after that. I think is one of the theories, at least.
Well, anyway, we're not here to discuss Zelda. We're here to talk about Doctor Who. And on tonight's show, we have news and birthdays. We would have had Geek Talk, but the person
geek of
doing
the talk is not here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that Zelda discussion will just be your Geek Talk now. Deal with it.
I could talk about YouTube, but it's all depressing.
And so then our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's move on to birthdays, shall we?
Yay.
The first one on the list is from the 6th of December and is of Noel Clarke, who played Mickey Smith in 2005 to 2006, then again in 2008, then again in 2009. He turned 44. Next is the 7th of December and the birthday of Wendy Padbury, who played Zoe Harriet in the final season of Patrick Troughton's era, 1968-1969. She turned 72. Next sees the 8th of December and the birthday of Jenny Linden, who played Barbara Wright in the Doctor Who and the Daleks, the 1965 movie with Peter Cushing.
Mm-hmm.
She turned 80. 9th of December sees the birthday of Eric Soward, writer, script editor from the 80s. Basically known as the dark, gritty guy when it came to writing stuff. He turned 75.
It's funny that he's a dark, gritty guy when he looks super happy and chipper all the time in all the photos I find.
Yeah, but he was the one that kind of continued the dystopian writing for the future for our Doctor Who, pretty much after the British were fed up with dystopian dark future writing.
Yeah, they let that linger too long in their sci-fi for a while, to be honest. It was kind of a fad that they need to grow out of.
Until it became a parody of itself, and we can thank Red Dwarf for that.
Yeah.
Also, on the same day is the birthday of Waris Hussein, the director from 1963 and 64. He directed An Unearthly Child, and he directed Marco Polo. He turned 81. And then finally, the 11th of December, today, sees the birthday of Ben Browder, who played Isaac in A Town Called Mercy in 2012, but is better known as being Cameron Mitchell in the Stargate SG-1 after taking over from suddenly lost his MacGyver.
Richard Dean Anderson?
Richard Dean Anderson, who himself took over for Kurt Russell from the movie.
Yeah.
He's also best known for playing John Crichton in Farscape. And he turned 57. So he's one of our honoraries, but he's on the list. So happy birthday to Noel, Wendy, Jenny, Eric, Waris, and Ben. And I believe all of them are still alive.
Oh, Farscape was such a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, it feels like it was ages ago. SG-1 feels like it's in the ancient past now, too.
I miss those shows. Anyway.
From life, we go to death.
Yes. An Unearthly Podcast is set in to announce the death of Wendy Williams, who played Vera in the Tom Baker serial The Ark in Space. Williams was born in Cheam in Sutton, south of Wimbledon in 1934. She started acting on television in 1954 in the play A Party for Christmas. This set her up for other television roles, including Lady Lizzie Eustace in the 1959 series The Eustace Diamonds, Frances Graham in Knight Errant Limited, and Margaret Hale in North and South. She also appeared in The Further Adventures of the Musketeers, 30-Minute Theater, The Regiment, Crossroads, Zed Cars, Dominic, When the Boat Comes In, and Angels. In 1976, she played Barbara in the Terry Nation Survivors, and in the original Poldark series as Lady Bassett. In 1981, she joined the cast of Tanko as Vicky Armstrong. The following year, she played Lady Brandon in the Barry Letts production of Bojest. Williams was married to Doctor Who director Hugh David until his death in 1987. She is survived by her second husband, Michael Windsor.
Sorry for that last minute edit there. I actually had a repeat thing that I had to delete. Almost had Crossroads listed twice. And yeah. Well, that's what happens when you start pulling stuff from multiple articles and try to piece together somebody's life. Because, by the way, they're not saying what she died from, but then again, she was,
84. It's been a good run.
Yep. At that point, you really stop looking. Anyway, let's get on to our Series 12 news. Chibnall was recently interviewed for TV and Satellite Week magazine and said the following about what we can expect from Series 12. We're going deep into the Doctor Who world to seek out delights and hidden corners it contains. We'll also be going deeper into characters from last year and seeing things from the Doctor's past. It's different. It feels like a step up, and it's more ambitious in terms of scale and storytelling. But you're also going to have a massive laugh because it's hugely entertaining. We start with a two-parter, and our first episode is action-packed and probably our biggest ever episode. It's a thriller filmed around the world and has Stephen Fry and Sir Lenny Henry in it, which is so exciting. It's a big roller coaster event. There are car chases and a bike chase and all kinds. We wanted to know if it was possible to do a Doctor Who action movie. Yeah, it was called the Third Doctor era.
Right?
The great thing about Jodie Whittaker is that whenever you write for her, she can do. My job is to keep challenging her and challenging the characters. We have a great story for the Judoon. The idea of them landing in contemporary Gloucester and investigating a space crime was irresistible. Gloucester, excuse me. Can't talk today. There are definitely some treats for the long-term fans. Lots of little threads to pick up and enjoy. So, basically, he's hyping the entire season.
Yeah.
But, that's his job right now. Now the production's done, he's basically hype man.
Yeah, now that the job of actually filming it all is done, it's time for him and everyone else involved to start running around and screaming, "Oh my God, we're coming!"
All right.
Yes,
so,
phrasing.
Let's talk more about Spyfall in particular. First of all, we've got a synopsis from DigiGuide. They've posted, the time travel returns for a fresh set of adventures. When intelligence agents around the world come under attack from alien forces, MI6 turns to the only people who can help, a certain doctor and her companion. As they travel the globe in pursuit of answers, threats arrive from all sides, leaving Earth security resting on the team's shoulders. But where will this planet-threatening conspiracy lead them? Jodie Whittaker, Tosin Cole, Bradley Walsh, and Mandeep Gill star with guest appearances from Stephen Fry and Lenny Henry. Boy, they're really hyping the guest stars here, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Very proud.
All right.
Don't get me wrong. In particular, I know Stephen Fry. The man's been around forever, and he's a legend for some of the work he's done. But wowzer, there are just hammering that home that, oh my God, we got Stephen Fry.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's like Kermit the Frog. And ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Fry. Yeah!
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, we've got the BBC published a first look involving Stephen Fry's character C, debriefing the Doctor and friends on the crisis. I take it we've all seen this?
I did not have a chance because I was busy finishing setup.
So, yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious who C is a take on here.
Q.
M, actually.
Or M, yeah. Can assume one of the lettered people.
Yeah, Q's more the scientific inventor guy. The guy that will
it's M, so the leader of the organization then.
Yes, here's your cigarette case. Your cigarette contains a poison dart. Yeah, it's not that guy. It's the other guy. That's the boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's Zed from Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Stephen Fry is playing here, and basically the scene is basically him apprising the Doctor and companions on the situation, in which he shows them a person that apparently passed out in a plane, who we believe is an actual like MI6 operative, and is going through some kind of weird DNA change from according to the trailer. Yeah, the Doctor actually, after scanning, kind of looks horrified by it. I'm like, oof. And this seems to be what leads them off on this grand tour to spy.
As apparently there's something up, yeah.
And I mean, really, that's all there is, but it's like, look, here's Stephen Fry's character.
Isn't he cool? Okay, bye, see you later.
Radio Times has published the cast and character list for Spyfall in addition to the mains. Here's the list in its entirety. Stephen Fry is playing C in the tradition of M, head of the Secret Intelligence Service, MI6. Lenny Henry is playing Daniel Barton, who seems to be a big businessman.
Yep.
Shabna Gulati, Bhavishna Parmar, and Ravinjay Ganatra revived their roles as Yaz's mother, sister, and father. You might remember them from Arachnids in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Sakarisha Claxton's character is simply listed as passenger. We think she's the one that we're seeing in the clip there with C talking to the Doctor and them.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Struan Roger voices Kasavin, who we don't know who that is, but we suspect it might be the big villain. Especially if he's only voicing it. It sounds like it might be a CGI monster.
Or something to that effect, yeah. Costumed or CGI, one of the two.
Uh-huh. Something like that. Asif Khan reprises his role as Sergeant Ramesh Sunder, Yasmin Khan's police boss.
Ah, him.
Also, we have additional characters. Juan Tingang as Tybo. Andrew Bones as Mr. Collins. Christopher MacArthur as Ethan. Darren Meyer as Cisse. Dominique Meyer as Browning, an Australian intelligence agent. I actually wanted to see what Thomas had to say about that, but not. Melissa DeVries as Sniper. William Eli as older passenger. Assumed that it's the passenger on the same plane that we got
Passenger,
Claxton's character. Yeah. Brian Law as U.S. operative, and Ronan Summers as Rendition Man. As this is a spy film, it's likely that some of the oddly named characters are intelligence agents of some kind from various world governments.
Yep.
Well, Rendition Man is the sequel to Demolition Man.
Right. Sly Stallone is Rendition Man.
What's that to say?
Yeah.
So we got one of the Stallones in here?
Oh.
You'll have to go with Frank.
I went with Frank because he's easier to listen to.
So that's our list of casting characters. As you can see, this is fairly large cast for a Doctor Who.
Yeah, that does seem that they're pulling out the stops for a first episode, which is kind of a good thing. It does need a bit of a jolt in the bloodstream.
I mean, it's not like a Cecil B. DeMille production of, thousands, but it's getting close. Okay, so the BBC has put out another preview clip of Spyfall. This one featuring Yaz and Ryan interviewing Lenny Henry as Daniel Barton. I know you saw that before we started, Tim. What did you think?
I thought it was interesting. I liked the camera work that Ryan had. And sort of like the look that Yaz and Ryan passed between them when Daniel Barton said he was Googling them.
Yeah, because they're masquerading as a famous reporter. And apparently the doctor's doing some hacking behind the scenes to make sure that they're up here as who they say they are.
Mm.
Or the Secret Service is. One or the other. Somebody's setting them up for this.
Yeah.
Almost feels like a old Mission Impossible episode. You almost want them, almost in the background, you kind of want them to go dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Cut to shots of some guy stuffed in an air duct typing on a laptop. Top with a stethoscope in his ears, listening against a wall.
And suddenly the doorman that lets him in pulls off his face, and it's actually Leonard Nimoy. Yeah.
That would be a shock.
Well, yeah, considering he's dead, but
Mm-hmm.
that was his character on the old Mission Impossible. Was he's playing the Master of Disguise? All right. So that's all we know about Spyfall at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We know some things about Skyfall too, but we're not a James Bond podcast. We're a Doctor Who podcast.
Skyfall. Not this one.
Okay. So now we've got some stuff with cast and crew. First up. Go ahead. You go ahead, Tim.
Okay. Jodie Whittaker told Graham Norton about a potentially fatal encounter in South Africa. We were filming in South Africa, and unbeknownst to me, some of the South African crew had been filming what is known as a sack spider crawling up and down out of this tree. So the sack spider is in the tree. They're filming it and filming each other. I've got footage saying this is terrifying and look how terrifying that is. No one told me. I run out of the building. Everything's a secret, so I can't tell you what building. I run out of the building and into the wilderness as the sack spider just crawled down my face, on my collarbone, and went inside my costume. I absolutely bricked it, and can't repeat what I said. Costume was off, and our first AD, the first assistant director, was English, pretty casually just picked it up and chucked it as all the South Africans were going, no, 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 no! And then we found out I could have died. When asked why the crew were playing with a venomous spider, she replied, it was a take. Sack spider bites can cause tissue damage, and while not normally fatal, can be if the person is bitten in a vulnerable area. By the description, it sounds like this one had access to all the vulnerable spots.
Right?
Yeah. Let's talk about things I never want to have happen to me.
And something scuttling down my face and down my shirt, yeah.
Actually, I just had this happen to me a few weeks ago.
Yeah, right?
And I pretty much was freaked out about it because I think it happened on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it heard it been either late on Tuesday or early on Wednesday. Either way, you were still just like, ah!
Yeah. It's one of those things.
Spiders found in Wisconsin too?
No.
There is a variation called a yellow sack spider, which is not as venomous, but we have an abundance here. And I mean here as in this apartment. Pretty sure that's the one that crawled down my sweatpants a few weeks ago. And yeah.
I've been in your apartment.
Yes, you have been. I've been in his apartment too.
Yeah, we're pretty vigorous about killing all the spiders. I'm sorry, when you're in your house and a spider crawls across your skin and down in your pants, that's a declaration of war, let me tell you.
Yep. The covenant has been broken.
It's time for the raid bombs.
Yeah, I really want to frickin' insect bomb this apartment really badly.
Fumigate the sucker.
But we got to figure out what to do with the cat. because cats won't survive a bug bombing.
That is very true. Humans will barely survive it, but they won't survive without getting sick.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things you do, and then you go out for the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Just gotta find a place to put Nappa where it'll be safe.
Yeah, we might have to put him in like a animal, take him to the vet or something. Take him to the vet, bug bomb the house, etc. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my list of things I really want to do. Anyway, let's move on.
Oh yeah, lovely horror story.
Yes.
Thank you. I need my skin to crawl.
Yes, very much. Anyway, the BBC has announced it has grabbed the airing rights to David Tennant's 8-part adaptation of Jules Verne's classic Around the World in 80 Days. Tennant is set to play main character Phineas Fogg, Victorian-era British gentleman who sets out to make his way across the world in 80 days on a wager of £20,000. No news yet on an air date.
You know, when you hear about this, and, you know, I've heard about this story since I was a kid, you're like, he's doing this for £20,000. That's not a lot. But then you've got to calculate for inflation and realize that in today's money, that's a little over £2 million. So we're talking about $5 million. So, you know, Phineas Fogg's in this club, and they bet him $2 million, or they bet him $5 million. He can't travel around the world in 80 days. Now, nowadays, that's not a big thing. People could travel around the world in like 2 days.
Yeah.
They're just really tired from the jet lag. But this is the pre-jet, pre-plane era. So it was a little tougher back then.
Yes. And this is assuming everything goes exactly to plan and there are no delays.
And yeah, if you've ever listened to or read a synopsis of the story or read the story itself, you know there were plenty of things that caused delays, connections that got missed, and alternate methods that had to be taken, including the fact that, remind you, this was happening back in the 1870s. So on a train trip across the United States, they were attacked by Sioux Indians.
Oof.
Yeah. Yes. That happens in the story. He also discovers newspapers were wrong and there wasn't a railway connection in India that he was looking to take, so he had to go by elephant. There's a British police officer following him, thinking he's a bank robber. Oh, yeah. Whole bunch of little interesting things happen in this story.
And the thing I remember is that he ends up getting home a day early because of the time zone.
He thinks he makes it because the bet is taken in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, the bet's taken in London. He's supposed to catch he's supposed to end up back in Liverpool and take a train to London. By everything, he gets there what he thinks is about 3 hours late. He's then arrested, thrown in jail, and then released. But yeah, because of the way they were traveling, he's seen 80 sunsets, but Britain's only seen 79 because he was traveling forward. I'm not sure how that worked exactly, but either way, I think probably international dateline bullshit. Regardless, he then gets out in time to claim his prize. But yeah, it's a interesting Victorian era story.
I'm sure David Tennant will do the part justice.
Won't be his first time in a hot air balloon.
That's only the first part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
The hot air balloon's only, I think, until he hits Suez.
Yeah, I know that. I just know that's the first part, and then yeah, after that, it just starts going all over.
Excuse me. It's like, you know, hot air balloon, steamer, elephant, train, steamer. More steamer.
I just met her.
Tish.
More train. more steamer. Yeah, it just keeps going. Because really, when crossing large oceans, really the only way to go is by steamer boat in the mid-1800s. I mean, you could take an old sailing boat, but who'd want to? Anyway.
Yes, anyway. Karen Gillan has written and directed her first feature film, The Party's Just Beginning. She talked with Film Stories magazine about it. I was always coming up with ideas, dreaming up stories and characters. And then, even in school, I was writing plays and stuff like that. The drama class when I was growing up in Inverness, we would have to write plays and perform them. When I was about 24, I started writing The Party's Just Beginning. I just finished on Doctor Who. I tried to think of ways to contact people and work out who would be helpful. I showed Mike Flanagan, the director of Oculus, the script. He read it and really liked it. We were talking in a pub in Los Angeles, and he said, I know the producer who can make this. Her name is Mally Elfman. And actually, she's coming down right now. Then a few minutes later, she walked into the pub, and we just started talking. We had some wine and talked about how we could do it. She said, you haven't directed anything before, so we need to get you directing. She set me up with my first short film, a tiny budget horror, Coward. Then we made another short, Confidential, together after that. And then we embarked on the mission together to get this film funded. She believed in the project a lot, and worked with me on restructuring and streamlining. When asked if the experience making the two shorts helped her build her confidence in directing, she explained it was more about gaining experience. It wasn't even about confidence. It was more just capability. I wanted to know what I was doing. Directing is a completely different job from acting. It was just really, really informative and helpful to just practice. Like anything, you get better at it, and you start to learn more about your individuality and style as a filmmaker. A little bit of trial and error, playing around, and I wanted to be in that spot before tackling a full feature. I just remember feeling really excited, feeling that I can't believe I get to shout action, and it was really cool. With a feature, even a tiny low-budget film, I remember feeling comfortable. In hindsight, I think I felt alright about it. It felt natural and calm. About her first day directing, she said, I've been on many sets with many different actors. It's interesting because when you're working on anything, usually the least experienced person on the set is the director. They do one thing every so often, whereas we as actors, especially if you're on a television show, you have a new director every week. You can see how they all work. Then a new person comes in who doesn't quite know the ropes. It's kind of interesting because I feel extremely comfortable with it. I didn't have the intimidated feeling of walking onto the set for the first time. However, it was strange to walk onto the set in such a different role, where everybody's looking at you for answers and approval. Part of Gillan's confidence is a consequence of her interest in directing using a second-hand camera since adolescence. It goes back to when I was a child. My parents gave me a video camera, and for a while it was like my prized possession, the most important thing in my life. I'd make lots of different types of films in my house, but mainly horror. Those were the best ones. I loved doing it. Gillan had one final message for aspiring filmmakers. I'd say stop judging yourself. Maybe just give yourself permission to write something that's not very good. It's a hell of a lot easier to improve something than it is to start from something from scratch. Allow yourself to write something bad. It might not even be bad, but even if it is, that's okay. You can go back and make it better and better and better. And if you can remove the self-judgment out of that, which is really what writer's block is, you actually create something. I do hope it will inspire more young filmmakers, particularly female ones, that they'll think about it as a potential career. Possible. The Party's Just Beginning is out now in cinemas in the UK and USA, and also on demand and DVD.
I would like to point out as a writer that self-judgment is not always what writer's block is. Sometimes you have an idea of where something's going, and you know where you are now, but you don't know how to get between the two.
You're just like, now how the fuck do I get there?
Yes.
And you got ideas, but none of them are working right. And it's just like,
And it's not like you're trying it to be perfect. You're just trying to make it passable. Because like she says, then you can improve on passable and make it good. But it's just a matter of, fuck, how do I get there? I have an idea, it's a bare bones of idea, but it needs to be fleshed out before I can write it out. And yeah.
I can feel the same problem sometimes trying to do remixes. I believe I mentioned more than once now I'm still trying to work on an actual cover of Doctor Who, and God, I think I've gone through at least 3 or 4 versions at this point, and every time it's just like, no, no, no. I'm liking it less the more I hear it. Just rip it apart, toss it away. We're starting over again.
Technically, that is self-judgment. But
no, that's not even self-judgment on my part. It's literally me just listening to what came out of it and of my attempt to do it and just like going, no, not happy. Because I've had too many songs that I've gone, not happy and still released them anyways. I'm sick and tired of it. I had a really bad 8-bit Godzilla one in particular, and I'm just like, if I could just delete it out of memory, I would, but I'm still very happy with the second attempt.
All right. So, moving on to the merchandise section, and in particular novels.
Merchandising Target.
The BBC has announced new Target paperback novelizations coming in summer 2020. Some of which are to be expected, and some of which are rather surprising, actually. The first couple were ones we expected, and those were the paperback editions of Resurrection of the Daleks by Eric Soward and Revelation of the Daleks by Eric Soward. Also not that surprising is the paperback version of The Pirate Planet by James Goss. This will be, of course, the first time that the originally written by Douglas Adams serial is put into the Target paperback collection.
Okay.
More surprising were the announced Target novelizations of The Witchfinders by Jory Wilkinson. This will be the first 13th Doctor Target paperback. Dalek by Robert Shearman. And The Crimson Horror by Mark Gatiss. BBC Books will publish all 7 Targets on the 23rd of July, 2020, each with newly commissioned cover artwork by Anthony Dry. All right. That takes us to our Big Finish news, of which there is 2 articles.
Yep. We discussed this a couple weeks back, so this is just an announcement that this Yuletide audio selection box is now available as a collector's edition CD on download from $12.99, and that is Blood on Santa's Claw. Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah, we discussed that one when it was announced a couple weeks back, and we went into it in detail enough that I didn't feel we needed to again.
Just announcing that it's finally out, so it's out in time. Everybody order it if you need it.
Also, now, one we've talked about before, The Robots has now been released, complete with YouTube trailer, which is rather cool. The Robots Volume 1 is available now for $19.99 as a collector's edition CD box set, or $16.99 as a download.
Yeah, so, yeah, they released a trailer in which you hear SV1, the Super Vok robot, talking about the history of how the robots were created. And through it were little flashes apparently set by the resistance group with the homicidal robots. So it was interesting. And kind of cool that a Audio Adventure has a video YouTube trailer. So I was like, awesome. Anyway, that's all the news that we have. Which there was plenty of it. I mean, that was, 50 minutes of space? Just about. Like I said, we were going to have Geek Talk, but that was all Thomas, and he's not here. We are also going to have a review of Shame, and that was Thomas from last week, and he's not here.
So double shame.
So let's move on to our episode summary. And I believe, Tim, you are up for that.
Yes, I'm scheduled to do the episode summary.
So get the stopwatch started, Matt.
Extra tab, stopwatch. Alright, ready when you are, Tim?
Okay.
Alright, starting in 3, 2, 1.
So there's a big shindig going on in England in the 1920s. Lady Edison is throwing a party for all her friends, and she's invited some guy named Professor Peach and the Reverend Golightly. But the Doctor and Donna arrive in the backyard of Lady Edison's big mansion in the TARDIS and use the psychic paper to forge invites, and everyone, they pass themselves off as the Doctor. But Professor Peach excuses himself to look at something in the library when an unseen person enters the library and kills Professor Peach in the library with the lead pipe. But the point of view camera shot shows that whoever it was turns into a giant wasp. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Donna and everyone are introduced to Lady Edison's guests, who include her husband, the Colonel, who's in a wheelchair, her son, a young socialite, girl, I think her name was Robin or something, the Reverend Golightly, and the guest of honor, famed mystery writer Agatha Christie, creator of Hercule Poirot. The Doctor and Donna geek out over this. But, unfortunately, Professor Peach's body is soon discovered by the staff, and the Doctor claims to be Inspector Smith from Scotland Yard, aka the Doctor, and Donna as the plucky young girl who helps him out. Donna is upset at this, but the Doctor says there were no policewomen in the 1920s in England. And with some help from Agatha Christie, the Doctor sets out to solve this mystery by first interviewing all the party guests and where they were at the time of the murder, but they all seem to have airtight alibis. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in addition to the murder, there's also a jewel thief on the loose who is called the Unicorn. While the Doctor and Agatha Christie are interviewing the suspects, Donna is using her magnifying glass that she got from the Doctor to look for clues, particularly some alien goo that the Doctor had found at the scene of the crime. While the Donna is looking for the alien goo, he comes across a locked room, and the butler says that this room has been locked for 40 years. Ever since Lady Edison had returned home from a stay in India in the 1880s. Donna, claiming to be with Scotland Yard, gets the butler to open up the room, where she finds nothing but a small child's teddy bear. But she hears a buzzing sound, and thinking it's a bee trapped in the curtains, opens the curtains and reveals it's a gigantic freaking wasp. She calls the Doctor for help. Doctor and Agatha come rushing toward her, toward the sound of her cries. But the wasp has escaped, but it has left its stinger embedded in the doorway. wait. The Doctor now knows that they're dealing with what is called a Vesper form, which is a big bug creature from outer space. Now comes a scene where the Doctor and Agatha and Donna are trying to figure out who did it, when the butler gives them all their drink. The Doctor drinks some tea, but it has been poisoned with cyanide. But the Doctor is a Time Lord, and he knows how to counteract the effects of poison by drinking ginger beer, salt, and being shocked by having Donna kiss him. And he burps out the poison in a black cloud. But this gives the Doctor an idea. Oh, and it also slipped in my mind. During all this, there's been a second murder. The maid that serves Lady Edison was rushing to tell them something when someone pushed a giant stone gargoyle off the roof and it landed on her head and killed her. And there's also another moment when Agatha, Donna, and the Doctor are chasing the giant wasp. And then we have a nice dinner where everyone's eating their soup when the Doctor says, I was poisoned today, so that gave me an idea about this soup. Whereas everyone immediately stops eating the soup. And the Doctor says, "Oh, I just put pepper in the soup." And the Colonel says, "Oh, good. Spicy. I like it." But the Doctor goes on to explain that a key ingredient of pepper is pepperin, which is a common insecticide. But then the lights go out, we hear a big buzzing sound, Lady Edison says, "Oh no, it can't be!" And the lights go back on, and there's a giant wasp, and everyone runs, and there's panic, and Doctor, Donna, Agatha, and the butler hide in the pantry, so we now know that it couldn't have been the butler, because the butler is not the giant wasp who is killing everyone. But in the meantime, the Lady Edison prized necklace, the Firestone, has been stolen from around her neck, and her son has been killed with his face down in the soup bowl. Everyone seems to think Agatha Christie is the only one who can solve this mystery, but Agatha insists she's just a writer of silly little stories, and the Doctor is the one who will solve the mystery. So they all sit down in the study room, and after the Doctor and Donna have had their turns, trying to give Agatha some much-needed pep talks. It is revealed that years ago in India, Lady Edison had done the horizontal hoedown with a visiting Vesperform wasp from outer space and had gotten knocked up. When she returned home to England, she gave the child up for adoption. And being British, she kept silent and carried on. But the Doctor figures out that the Reverend Golightly, who is 40 years old, is actually the son of Lady Edison, and a week before the party, he had come across some people trying to rob his church, and that made him so angry that he turned into a giant wasp. And also, the Firestone necklace was actually given to her by Lady Edison's wasp boyfriend. And when her son became a wasp himself, it activated the DNA type thingamajig in the necklace. And because Lady Edison happened to be reading her favorite Agatha Christie novel at the time, the modus operandi of Agatha Christie's world and characters imprinted itself on Reverend Golightly's brain. So now Reverend Golightly acts like he's living in an Agatha Christie murder mystery. Agatha Christie says, well, since my imagination inspired you to become a murdering wasp person, I'm gonna take back the Firestone and run off with it. She gets in the car with the Firestone, which, by the way, was stolen by the unicorn, who it turns out is Robin in disguise. And they end up at a lake. The wasp chases her to the lake, and she throws the stone into the lake. The wasp goes after it and drowns. But before the wasp creature dies, he severs the link he had with Agatha Christie's brain, and the shock gives her amnesia. The doctor says that on the night of this party, Agatha Christie mysteriously disappeared for 10 days, showing up at a hotel later. So, to keep the timeline intact, they take her in the TARDIS 10 days forward into the future and drop her off at a hotel. So, Donna wonders if anyone else at the party will talk about what happened, and the doctor says, no, they're British. And he also assures Donna that Agatha Christie will go on to become the most popular writer in the history of the universe. The end.
Yikes. That was 13 minutes, Tim.
Yeah, that I think might go on record as being our longest summary.
Since we started doing summaries like this, yeah. Congratulations, Tim, you broke the record.
I was conscientiously trying to fit in as much details as I could remember.
Yeah, there was a point I'm like, at one point I'm like, we're supposed to summarize the episode, not reenact it. The only way it would be worse is if we ever had a summary longer than the episode itself. At that point, I have to go, okay, no, we're done now.
At 40 minutes, and then the wasp came through the window and the glass shattered everywhere. Oh, make it stop!
Thank you, Professor Binns.
Actually, it's Mr. Plinkett, but you're welcome.
All right. So what did we like about this episode, Matt?
I liked about the episode. I like the kept it a murder mystery, even though we kind of figured out pretty early on that this is not a natural human. There's an actual mystery even behind the monster of the week.
Like, true, it does come out like a Agatha Christie mystery with the missing child and.
Mm-hmm. There's more to it than just being, it's a monster killing people. There's an extra layer to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Tim, how about you? What did you like about the episode?
Oh, I just loved like the character of Agatha Christie herself and how she like is given like a new confidence uh not just in her writing but in, in her own self-esteem as a person by her encounter with the Doctor and Donna and um that even if she still has moments of like doubt. I think this episode is a very encouraging and optimistic portrayal of the creative process.
All right.
All right, Randy.
I guess I could say I like the authenticity of the episode. They go quite well in doing the Edwardian historical. From the cars to the buildings to the dress styles. It all felt exactly as it should, but this is what you do expect from a BBC drama.
Yeah, especially a period drama in Britain that takes place in Britain, period.
It still felt right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have seen it done crappily. But, I think the last time we really saw the Edwardian era was what, Black Orchid?
Quite possibly, and that was okay-ish. I think there was maybe a few little foibles, but I don't think it was necessarily the period dress or anything like that. I think it was a few other little side effects.
All right, so what did we dislike about this episode, Matt?
Dislike about this episode? Actually, I'm going to say that some of the conclusion was a little bit underwhelming. Essentially, how we take care of the villain of the piece was just like, oh, really?
What, drown it in a lake?
Yeah, that seemed a bit chintzy.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised it couldn't turn back into human and make it back, yeah.
Yeah, there's that, and there's also the car chase was not that great either. Because it looked like the Wasp should have been able to easily outrun any of them and all of them, and it just kind of seemed to take its pokey time to catch up to any of the vehicles during the chase. It's just like, really? All right.
Okay. Tim, how about you? What did you dislike?
I thought that some of the more obvious nods to Agatha Christie's novels and especially the board game and movie Clue were like a bit too winky at the audience.
Well, yeah, they were supposed to be humorous nods, but I can see where that might break your suspension of disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tennant and Tate making those references perfectly makes sense, but yeah, made by the other people, I think were a bit much.
Or just the characters being named a specific way was also a little overly tongue-in-cheek, although the one character that was named that way didn't last very long.
Mm-hmm. So what I didn't like was the metamorphosis CGI.
Yeah, it's just kind of a purple puff, and then oh, look at me, I'm a bee now.
Yeah, it just, from what they were describing on how it worked, it seemed to be overly simple and, well, yeah, exactly like you said, puff of smoke and I've transformed. Excuse me, is this freaking like 1960s, 70s Japanese transformations? Is this
you insult 1970s tokusatsu, good sir.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Make My Monster Grow.
Well, that was the 90s, and that was a cheese-tastic Super Sentai. There's
Yes,
still a lot of actual like camera angles and stuff that big into the transformations at the time by then. But yeah.
Either way, I mean, a puff of smoke and you change. No, I'm sorry. I expect a little more from Doctor Who. I mean, we get awesome regeneration CGI stuff, and then we get this bullshit. What the hell?
It would have been more effective if they had just cut to reaction shots of the people looking at him change and cut back to...
Probably.
I would still find it chintzy, but then again, I'm also kind of shall we say, annoyed by the similar stuff happening to like slasher movies during the 80s when the MPAA came down way too hard on movies. There's particular franchises that suffered from unneeded editing.
All right, so scene that you liked.
Which one do I want to go with? I think for a change, I'll go with the obvious one, and I'll go with the doctor finger pointing, and multiple times
yes.
people going, "Me?"
So he killed them.
No.
Yeah.
Are you sure she didn't kill them? Yes, we're sure she didn't kill them. Huh?
Yeah, I especially liked it when he pointed at Donna. It's like
Me?
All right, Tim.
Oh, I just loved the whole doctor's bit of curing himself of the cyanide poisoning.
It's detox. Damn it, that was mine.
Detoxing. Especially the moment when Donna says, Harvey Wallbanger! Harvey Wallbanger is not one word!
It is the most humorous scene in there. Leaving me with a bag here. Where will I go from here? I guess I could say that my favorite scene after that would have been the Doctor and Agatha Christie. Near the beginning, where Agatha Christie's like, "Oh, but you, Mr. Detective, missed something." And he's like, "What? That piece of paper you nicked out of the fireplace?" It's like, "Your back was turned." It's like, "Yes, but I saw you in the reflection of the glass." It's just such a detective novel right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that scene. All right, least favorite scene, Matt.
Oh gosh, least favorite scene. Gosh. Actually, I'm gonna go with obviously the worst visual effect in the entire episode, which was the falling gargoyle.
Mm.
That one just like, really? Ugh. Like the worst digital gargoyle falling off a fake wall ever. And then we just come back to a scene with the woman laying on the ground with the gargoyle like partially broken on top of her.
They could have filmed that without CGI by just having the gargoyle fall over and then film the result, and it probably would have been better.
Oh yeah, by far. And otherwise it just looked like very obvious fake CG.
Okay, Tim, how about you? Your least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene is the scene where the son of Lady Edison, the legitimate son, I mean, is in flashback scene courting having a little tryst with the one of the staff. It seemed like that like there was enough going on in this episode, I think that it didn't really bring anything to it, like it just seemed like it was there for I don't know why, but
more like a scene filler.
Like more scene filler.
Yeah. It was mostly to establish that fact for his, for his alibi. And it's a Russell T Davies production, so yes, there has to be something with for the LGBT community. I don't know. This was not one of his greater outings in that particular field, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed kind of ham-fisty. Anyway, Randy.
So I guess my least favorite scene is the flashback where the vicar discovers the boys breaking into his church. And that's the point where you see him and he starts talking like zzz, and every time he does that, I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Really? That's where we're going with this.
I could see why the boys robbing his place started to crack up a laugh.
Yeah, it was... Yeah.
Even by acting standards, his buzzing was very hammy.
Yep. It was just way over the top and way too children's production for me. All right. So I believe that takes us to final thoughts.
Ja.
Matt, you are first.
All right. I'm going to say that this wasn't great, but it was at least a solid outing. So, yeah, I'm going to give this one a 4.
I didn't say rate. I didn't say.
Wait. Oh wait. So final thoughts. Sorry. Yeah, my brain suddenly skipped ahead. I'm going to say this wasn't. It wasn't particularly a great outing. I will say the plot was serviceable. The visuals were good except for that one particular scene for me. Actually, speaking of which, the CG Wasp could have been a lot worse, but was at least decently thought throughout the most of this particular outing when it needed to be there. Yeah, there's only the one CG effect of the gargoyle and the purple farts that kind of drew it back. Otherwise, I think the rest of the writing was pretty decent for the most part. And the our acting from our main crew was also pretty good.
All right. Tim?
This had a great ensemble cast with some memorable scenes. I'm a huge fan of the movie Clue, as well as Agatha Christie Murder Mysteries, and the 1920s vibe was great. The chemistry between the Doctor and Donna, as always, carried most of the show. And of all the famous authors that the Doctor has met in his the new series, I would say the Agatha Christie meeting is better than Charles Dickens, but not as good as William Shakespeare.
All right. So, is that all your thoughts, or are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. So my thought on it is that this is a pretty good one. I mean, it's not great, but it's pretty good. The best parts about it is it does have the elements of a proper murder mystery, and you see them go through all the paces that way, of the whodunit, and that part seems to work pretty well. Where the parts that I have problems with is the acting characterization of the villain once he's revealed, and just some CGI foibles here and there that could have been done if they'd had probably a slightly larger budget or at least a little more time to work at it.
Yeah.
Reminding that the show, while they do other genres, is primarily science fiction and needs to be treated as such at times. All in all, like I said, good, but not great. So we go to ratings, and Matt, you decided to give it a 4?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 4. It's not great, but it's solid enough to get up there.
Tim?
It is solid, and it appeals to my own sensibilities, so I will give this a 4.5.
All right. And I will be with Matt and give it a 4. Like I said, good, but not great. And that will average us out to a 4.8. 0.2. At least until the others manage to put in their 2 cents.
Hey, it's 42.
Unfortunately, it is not 42. It's 109 out of 323 things reviewed. It is on par with Gridlock, The Time Meddler, Bad Wolf, Parting of the Ways, Legopolis, Inferno, The Mind Robber, Destiny of the Daleks, Frontier in Space, Hellbent, and The Power of Krull. It is better than Army of Ghosts Doomsday, Mummy on the Orient Express, Under the Lake Before the Flood, State of Decay, Death to the Daleks, The Girl Who Died, etc. And is not as good as Empress of Mars, Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. Yeah, that's a hard one. And that's actually the two-parter that comes after this.
Mm-hmm.
Terror of the Autons, The Last Christmas, The Rescue, The Unquiet Dead. So, oddly enough, Tim, we rated Charles Dickens above this one.
So far.
Demons of the Punjab, Ark in Space, Waters of Mars, etc. So, there we go. 109 out of 323. That is all we have to say about the Unicorn and the Wasp. Matt, if you could put up the closer.
Alrighty. So yes, as usual, if you like the show, don't forget you can check out all of our vlogs afterwards on YouTube at Unearthly Podcast. You can find us live if you so wish afterwards to catch us on Twitch at Unearthly Podcast. You can find us on Twitter for any updates on Unearthly Pod. You can also find us on Facebook at Unearthly Podcast. And if you do so enjoy the show enough that you might want to spend a shilling or two on us, you can check us out on Patreon at An Unearthly Podcast.
All right, so next week we will conclude our tribute to Tennant and do our last episode for the year as we move forward to the penultimate story in Series 4. There's Something on Donna's Back in Turn Left, written by Russell T. Davies and starring David Tennant as the Doctor and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. So see you next week.
Feel the feels.